The greatest love story in the Bible does not start the way you'd expect it to. No butterflies, no candlelight, no moment where two people lock eyes and just know. This story, the love story, begins with a woman lying down at a man's feet in complete darkness, in the middle of the night, on a threshing floor, alone. And what she says to him is the most breathtaking request anyone has ever made. Hidden inside this story is a single Hebrew word that connects two moments in a way that will absolutely stop you. Boaz prayed a prayer over Ruth, out loud, in a field, in the daylight. And on that threshing floor, Ruth used that exact same word in her request. He prayed it. She asked him to become it. Is that an accident? By the end of this video, you will know that it is not. Three things we're walking through today. First, midnight on the threshing floor, and the Hebrew word that changes everything. Second, a morning at the city gate, two men, one choice, and what it truly costs to love someone the way God intended. Third, the moment you realize God didn't just bless this love story, He placed those exact names inside the family tree of Jesus Christ. Whether your marriage is struggling, whether you've been hurt so badly trust feels impossible, or whether you've just always wondered what real, God-designed love looks like, this story is for you today. Part 1, the threshing floor, the darkness, the request, and the word that wraps this whole story together. Part 2, the city gate, where covenant love stops being private and becomes costly. Part 3, the thing no one in Bethlehem saw coming, and what it still says to us today. Let's go. The harvest is done. For weeks, Ruth has risen before the sun to glean, picking up leftover grain behind the harvesters. The work of the poor, the work of the overlooked. But Boaz, the wealthy owner of the field, had noticed her, protected her, invited her to his table. And Naomi had been watching all of it. So Naomi said, "Wash yourself, put on your best garment. When he lies down, uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do." Ruth 3:3-4. And Ruth said without flinching, "All that you say I will do." In the ancient Near East, what Naomi described was the most vulnerable thing a woman could do. No power, no guarantee. She had exactly two things, her own character and her belief in his. Midnight. The threshing floor is still. Boaz is asleep, and then something startles him awake. Someone is lying at his feet. He whispers, "Who are you?" And she answers, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." Did you catch that word? Wings. In Hebrew, Kanaph. Now go back to chapter 2 when Boaz first saw Ruth. "A full reward be given you by the Lord, under whose wings, Kanaph, you have come to take refuge." The same word. Boaz prayed that God would cover her under his kanaph. And on that threshing floor, Ruth came back and said, "Spread your kanaph over me." She wasn't just proposing marriage. She was saying, "You prayed that God would cover me. I am asking you to become that prayer." He called on God to be her shelter. She looked at him and said, "You already are." That is not a coincidence. That is God's fingerprints on a love story. It is the dead of night, no witnesses. Boaz, wealthy, powerful, could have done anything. But this is what he said, "Do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." In the darkness, when no one was watching, he spoke her worth over her. That is what a man of God looks like in the dark. Covenant love doesn't need an audience. But there was one obstacle, a kinsman nearer than Boaz with the legal right to redeem first. If he will redeem you, good, but if not, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Before sunrise, Boaz sent Ruth home safely and walked straight to the city gate. The city gate of ancient Israel was the courthouse, the place where contracts were sealed and a man's word meant something. 10 elders, every word binding. Boaz sat down, and he waited. The closer kinsman arrived. Boaz laid it out. Naomi is selling Elimelech's land. You have the first right. Do you want it? I will redeem it, the man said. Then Boaz added, the day you buy the field, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite to perpetuate the name of the dead. Ruth 4:5. The kinsman calculated. Land alone, yes, but Ruth? A Moabite woman whose children would carry another man's name and claim his estate? That changes everything. I cannot redeem it, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right yourself. Ruth 4:6. He took off his sandal, the legal gesture of surrender, and walked away. This man is not a monster. He didn't lie. He didn't hurt anyone. He simply did what most of us do when love gets too expensive. He looked at the price tag and put it back on the shelf. Two men, same gate, same morning, same offer. One saw the cost and walked away. The other, Boaz, had already made up his mind, alone, in the dark, with no audience. He stood before the 10 elders and declared, today you are witnesses. I have acquired Ruth the Moabite to be my wife. You are witnesses this day. Ruth 4:9-10. He didn't say, the widow. He said, Ruth the Moabite, the full name, the complicated part, the part that raised eyebrows, without flinching. This is the person I am choosing, with full knowledge of the cost, starting right now. The closer kinsman saw what it would cost him. Boaz looked at the same situation and saw Ruth. Hesed, the Hebrew word for covenant love, used 3 times in Ruth. Hesed always sees the person first. Boaz married Ruth. The women who had watched Naomi return broken and bitter now gathered around her and said, blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer. The woman who thought God had forgotten her was holding a grandson. Ruth bore a son. They called him Obed. Obed became the father of Jesse. Jesse became the father of David the king. And the line kept going until Matthew opened a scroll and wrote, Boaz fathered Obed by Ruth, and Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David the king. Matthew 1:5-6. There they are, side by side, Boaz and Ruth, in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. A foreign widow who arrived with nothing. A man who chose to see her when others saw a complication. God took that story, with its midnight and its gate and its costly yes, and wove it into the very DNA of his son's lineage. That is not background detail. That is a declaration. This is what love looks like when God designed it. 3 things to take with you. 1. Covenant love is a decision, not a feeling. Hesed is not something that happens to you. It is something you practice deliberately, daily. If the warmth in your marriage has gone quiet, the decision is still available to you today. 2. Covenant love counts the cost and says yes anyway. Boaz listed every cost publicly. He didn't minimize it, and then he said yes. That is what Hesed does. Eyes wide open, it chooses anyway. 3. God is not a spectator, He is the author. Those names in Matthew 1:5 are not accidental. Every Kanaph, every Hesed, every costly yes, God signed His name to it by placing it in the road that leads to Jesus. So, was it a coincidence that Ruth used the same word, Kanaph, that Boaz had prayed? No, Boaz prayed a real prayer. Lord, cover her under your wings. And God said, I'm going to answer it, and you're going to be the answer. That's how He works, not always in thunder or burning bushes. Sometimes quietly He turns to the person praying and says, the covering you asked for someone else, you're going to become it. Boaz prayed Kanaph. God gave him the honor of becoming Kanaph. That is the fingerprint of a God intimately, tenderly involved in every story He's writing. I don't know what story you're living right now. Maybe your marriage has gone silent. Maybe someone looked at the cost of staying and walked away. Maybe you're not sure covenant love is real anymore. Hear this. God wrote Ruth's name into the family line of his own son. He hasn't forgotten yours. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love Hesed and to walk humbly with your God? Micah 6:8. Hesed, love that chooses, love that shows up at the gate, love that covers in the dark, love that pays the price. If this story landed somewhere real for you, share it. Someone in your life might be sitting right where Ruth was, gleaning at the edge, wondering if God still sees. Let them know that he does. Hit subscribe. Every week we open scripture and find what most people walk past. Next week, the Proverbs 31 woman, who she really was, what those words really mean. I promise you, it is not what you think. Thank you for being here. God sees your story. He is still writing it. I'll see you next video.